Emily was just an ordinary waitress, doing her job at a small-town diner until one moment changed everything. When a group of teenagers bullied an elderly man, Emily stood up for him, but that act of kindness got her fired. Little did she know, her bravery would spark a movement that no one saw coming. Within hours, a viral video, a mob of bikers, and an unexpected job offer turned her world upside down. Who knew one simple decision would lead to her becoming a national sensation? Watch to see how Emily's life goes from ordinary to extraordinary in the blink of an eye.
The diner was practically a ghost town as Emma dragged a rag across the counter. Her body heavy with exhaustion, tips had been downright awful, and rent loomed just 2 days away. How was she going to make it? Suddenly, the door burst open with a jingle, and in strode a man who seemed to own the room. His suit? Probably worth more than her entire year's pay. When she slid the bill across to him, his wallet fumbled open, and there, oh my God, was the photo of her mother. Emma's heart slammed to a stop, her hands shaking like leaves. "Sir," she whispered, barely audible, "why is my mother's picture in your wallet?" Her breath caught in her throat as she gaped at the familiar photograph nestled in the billionaire's sleek leather wallet. Her mother's warm, radiant smile stared back, frozen in a moment from long ago. Impossible. Her mom never once hinted at knowing someone this filthy rich. Yet there it was, undeniable proof they were linked somehow. The man, completely unfazed by her shock, coolly snapped his wallet shut, tossed a crisp $100 bill on the counter, and made to leave. Wait, what? Panic surged through Emma, like a tidal wave. No way could she let him just walk out. "Excuse me, sir," she blurted, her voice barely a squeak. He paused, turning those piercing blue eyes on her sharp, unreadable, chilling her to the bone. "Yes," he said, his tone so detached, like she was already a forgotten speck in his world. Emma swallowed hard, her fists clenched tight. "That picture in your wallet, it's my mother." For a split second, something flickered in his face, a hesitation, a tiny crack in his armor. But just like that, it was gone, replaced by a cold, indifferent mask. "You must be mistaken," he said smoothly, adjusting the cuff of his ridiculously expensive suit. Emma's stomach twisted into knots. Mistaken? She knew exactly what she'd seen. That photo was etched in her memory from childhood, tucked away in her mom's little keepsake box, full of memories she rarely shared. "I'm not mistaken," she insisted, stepping closer, her voice trembling with conviction. "Why do you have her picture?" The billionaire let out a slow, measured breath, like he was deciding if she was even worth his time. Then, without a single word, he turned and strode toward the door. Was he seriously just leaving? Emma's pulse thundered in her ears. She couldn't let him vanish, not when this was so important. She bolted from behind the counter, nearly toppling a tray in her rush. "Wait!" she shouted, desperation cracking her voice. He didn't even slow down, her heart racing. She chased him out into the crisp, chilly evening air. The street was eerily quiet, only the faint hum of distant cars breaking the silence. The billionaire approached a sleek black car parked at the curb, its driver already swinging the door open for him. Emma caught up just as he was about to slide inside. "Please, just tell me how you knew my mother," she begged, her voice raw with need. He froze, hand on the car door. For a fleeting moment, she hoped he might actually answer. Instead, he turned slightly, his eyes raking over her face, cold and calculating, like he was sizing up whether she deserved his attention. Then, in a voice as icy as the night air, he said, "I don't owe you an explanation." The words hit her like a punch to the gut. Before she could even process, he slipped into the car. The driver slammed the door, and the vehicle peeled away. leaving Emma alone on the sidewalk, stunned and gasping for air. She stood there, frozen, watching the taillights fade into the night. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt, her breaths coming in short, jagged bursts. "I don't owe you an explanation?" Oh, he absolutely did. If he had her mother's picture, there was a reason, a big one, and she was going to uncover it, no matter what. Shaking, she turned back to the diner, pushing through the door with trembling hands. The bell jingled above, but it barely registered. Greg, the night shift cook, shot her a curious look from the kitchen window. "You okay, Emma?" he called, flipping a burger with a sizzle. She managed a weak nod, hurrying past him to the back room. She needed air, space, anything to clear her spinning head. Leaning against the cold metal of the storage shelves, her mind raced. Her mom had died 5 years ago, a sudden, cruel stroke that stole her away, leaving Emma utterly alone. There'd been no mysterious friends at the funeral, no powerful strangers, just a handful of her mom's co-workers and neighbors. Nothing. To suggest she'd ever crossed paths with someone as larger than life as that man. Emma squeezed her eyes shut, fighting the flood of emotions threatening to drown her. She'd always thought she knew her mom inside and out. But what if she'd been wrong? What if her mom had a secret past she'd never shared? Her eyes landed on her purse, slumped on the break table. She grabbed it, yanking out her phone with shaking fingers, and started searching for billionaire CEOs in the city. It didn't take long to find him, Alexander Pierce, king of a sprawling real estate empire worth billions. Emma stared at his photo on the screen, her stomach churning. Why on earth would a man like him carry a picture of a small-town nurse who worked at a community clinic? Their worlds couldn't have been further apart. A sickening dread settled in her chest. She had to know the truth now. By morning, Emma had made up her mind. No way was she letting this mystery eat her alive. She needed answers, and she knew exactly where to start. Clutching her bag like a lifeline, she boarded the first bus downtown, staring out the window as her mind buzzed. She'd spent all night digging online and learned Alexander Pierce's company headquarters was in one of the city's tallest skyscrapers. It was close less than 20 minutes away. Questions swirled in her head as she neared the towering, gleaming building. What was she even walking into? Stepping into the lobby, she felt like a fish out of water. The place was massive, crawling with sharp-dressed professionals who didn't even glance her way. She approached the reception desk, nerves jangling. The woman behind it, pristine in a navy suit, gave her a polite but frosty smile. "Good morning. Do you have an appointment?" Emma's throat went dry. She had no plan, no excuse, just a burning need for answers. I need to see Alexander Pierce," she stammered. The receptionist's smile didn't budge, but her eyes cooled. "I'm sorry, but Mr. Pierce doesn't take walk-in meetings. Do you have an appointment?" Emma faltered. "No, but it's important. It's personal." The woman's fingers tapped the desk lightly. "Unfortunately, Mr. Pierce's schedule is full. I can direct you to our corporate inquiry department if you'd like." "No," Emma cut in, too fast. "I just need a few minutes." The receptionist shook her head. "I'm afraid that's not possible." Emma's heart sank, but no way was she giving up. She took a deep breath, scanning the lobby. If she couldn't get in the right way, she'd find another. She had to. Stepping back from the desk, Emma forced herself to stay calm. She could feel the receptionist's eyes boring into her, expecting her to slink away. But she wasn't leaving without answers. She'd come too far. There had to be a way in. Her gaze darted around the lobby, noting every detail. Security guards loomed near the elevators, their eyes sharp. Employees with badges zipped through turnstiles, swiping cards, She needed to get past them somehow. Then she spotted him, a young guy in a crisp suit, juggling a coffee cup and a folder, his eyes glued to his phone. He was distracted, heading for the elevators. Without overthinking, Emma moved fast, falling into step beside him as he neared the security checkpoint. "Hey, wait up," she whispered, faking confidence. "You forgot to send me that report, Mist. Pierce wanted." The guy looked at her, totally confused. "What?" Emma shot him an exasperated glare, praying she sounded legit. "The report. He expected it this morning." He hesitated, brows knitting. Before he could say more, she slipped ahead, acting like she belonged, gliding through the turnstiles as his badge triggered the sensor. The guard barely glanced her way. She kept moving, forcing her breaths to stay steady. The elevator doors slid open, and she stepped in, jabbing the top floor button. Her pulse hammered in her ears as the doors closed. Holy crap, she'd done it. The ride felt like forever, each floor ticking by, making her more anxious. What was she going to say to Alexander Pierce? Would he have her thrown out? Call security? When the doors finally parted, she stepped into a sleek, modern office with floor-to-ceiling windows, showcasing a jaw-dropping city view. Everything screamed wealth and power. Assistants typed at desks, barely noticing her. Emma took one step forward, but a voice stopped her cold. "Excuse me, miss." She turned to see a tall man in a dark suit striding toward her, his gaze sharp and assessing. "You're not supposed to be up here. Do you have an appointment with Mr. Pierce?" Her throat tightened. Lying wouldn't work, so she went for the truth. "No, but I need to see him. It's about my mother." The man's face didn't budge. "Mr. Pierce is in a meeting. Then I'll wait." She shot back, planting her feet. He studied her for a long moment, then sighed. "Wait here." He vanished down a hallway. Emma's heart thundered as she stood there, uncertainty clawing at her. Minutes dragged on, like hours. Then, out of nowhere, a door at the far end of the office swung open. And there he was, Alexander Pierce himself. His eyes locked on her, and something flickered in his expression. Surprise? Resignation? Not anger, though. He approached, hands in his pockets, moving slow and deliberate. "You just don't give up, do you?" he said, his voice low, almost amused. Emma's fists clenched tight. "Not when it comes to my mother," she fired back. What else could she do? A heavy silence hung between them, thick with unspoken pain. Then, finally, Alexander broke it. "Come with me," he said, his voice firm yet edged with something vulnerable. Without another word, he turned and strode back into his office. Emma's heart raced. Should she follow? She hesitated for a heartbeat before stepping forward, driven by the desperate need for answers. This was it, wasn't it? The moment she'd been chasing. She crossed the threshold into Alexander Pierce's office, and her breath caught in her throat. The space was pure opulence. Floor-to-ceiling windows flooded the room with golden sunlight, casting a warm glow over a massive mahogany desk, every inch meticulously organized. Bookshelves lined the walls, packed with pricey leather-bound volumes that screamed power. This was the office of a man who ruled empires. Alexander leaned against his desk, his piercing gaze locking onto her, sending a shiver down her spine. What was that look in his eyes? Conflict? Regret? It was impossible to read, and it made her stomach churn. Emma swallowed hard, her voice trembling but determined. "Why do you have my mother's picture?" she demanded. He exhaled sharply, rubbing a hand over his face like the weight of the world was on him. "You're not going to let this go, are you?" "No way," she shot back, her tone fierce. "Let it go? After everything? Not a chance." For a moment, he was silent, his eyes distant. Then, slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. Her pulse skyrocketed as he carefully slid out that same worn photograph she'd glimpsed last night. He held it delicately, staring at it like it held his entire past, before turning it toward her. Emma's throat tightened as she gazed at her mother's face, younger, smiling, so full of life. But wait, something caught her eye. She pointed to the torn edge of the photo. This picture, it's not complete. Someone else was in it, weren't they? Alexander nodded, slow and deliberate. Yes, someone very important. Emma's heart pounded so loud she could hear it. Who? She pressed, her voice shaking. His expression softened, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Me. The word hit her like a lightning bolt. The room spun, her breath stolen. What? That doesn't make any sense, she stammered, her mind reeling. But as she stared at him, really stared, she saw it. A faint familiarity in his features. The way his eyes, hardened by years, held a glimmer of something she'd seen before. Oh God, was it true? You knew my mother, she whispered, barely able to get the words out. Alexander let out a long, heavy breath, like he'd been carrying it for decades. I loved her, he said, his voice raw. Emma stumbled back a step. Loved her? His gaze held steady, unwavering. Your mother and I, we were everything to each other. Her head spun. Impossible. Her mom never breathed a word about this man, never hinted at knowing someone like Alexander Pierce, a billionaire with power beyond her wildest dreams. I don't believe you, she snapped, shaking her head, trying to push back the flood of emotions. He didn't flinch. Instead, he reached into his desk and pulled out a small, weathered envelope. He handed it to her, his fingers brushing hers for a fleeting moment, sending a jolt through her. Emma hesitated. Should she open it? With trembling hands, she did. Inside was another photograph, this one whole, and there they were, her mother, young and radiant, and beside her, a younger Alexander Pierce, his arm around her, smiling in a way she never imagined he could. Tears stung her eyes, hot and relentless. Why didn't she tell me? She choked out, her voice breaking. Alexander's jaw tightened, pain flashing across his face. Because I wasn't the man I should have been. Emma looked up, searching his face for answers. What happened? She demanded, her voice raw, his expression darkened, heavy with something unspoken. I made a mistake, the kind that changes everything. She clutched the photograph so tightly her knuckles turned white. Tell me the truth. All of it. He studied her for a long moment, as if weighing whether she could handle it. Then, finally, he spoke. It's time you knew who I really am, and who you really are. What did that even mean? Her hands shook as she gripped the photo, her mother's face staring back, a silent witness to this unraveling mystery. Alexander's words pressed down on her chest, making it hard to breathe. This man, this billionaire, was tied to her mother's past in ways she'd never dreamed. And now, he was about to drop a bombshell that could shatter everything. She forced herself to meet his gaze. Who am I? She demanded, her voice trembling with fear and need. Alexander hesitated, his jaw clenching like he was steeling himself. Then, with a deep, shaky breath, he said, You're my daughter. The words slammed into her like a thunderclap. The room blurred, her ears ringing. No, that's not possible, she cried, stumbling back, shaking her head. His voice stayed steady, but pain seeped through every word. It is, Emma. I've known for years. The moment I saw you in that diner, I knew you looked just like her. Her mind spiraled, Her mom never mentioned this, not once. "You're lying," she spat, desperation clawing at her. He shook his head, his eyes heavy with sorrow. "I wish I were." Her knees buckled, but she refused to collapse. "If this is true, why didn't she tell me? Why didn't you ever try to find me?" Alexander exhaled slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Because I failed her. I failed both of you." Her chest ached, a sharp, searing pain. "What did you do?" she demanded, tears threatening to spill. He ran a hand over his face, his expression tormented. "Your mother and I, we were in love. Young, reckless, unstoppable. But I was ambitious, Emma. I wanted power, success, money, my family. They despised her. They said if I stayed with her, I'd lose everything. And like an idiot, I listened." Emma's breath hitched. "You walked away," she whispered, the truth cutting deep. "I left her," he admitted, his voice breaking. "When she needed me most, I thought I was doing the right thing, that I could come back later. After I'd built the life I wanted, but by the time I realized my mistake, she was gone." Tears blurred her vision. "She left because of you." Alexander nodded, his face etched with regret. "I searched for her for years, but she didn't want to be found. She wanted to protect you from me, from the life I'd chosen." Emma's throat closed up. "You abandoned her. You abandoned me." His eyes darkened with pain. "I did, and I've regretted it every single day." Silence filled the room, heavy with the weight of all they'd lost. Emma's fists clenched, her emotions a tangled mess. Her whole life, she'd watched her mom struggle, working herself to the bone to keep them afloat. And all that time, this man lived in luxury, oblivious to their pain. She wanted to scream, to sob, to demand why he'd let it happen. Instead, she choked out the question burning in her heart. "Why now?" Alexander stepped closer, his voice raw with emotion. "Because I can't make that mistake again. I lost your mother, Emma. I can't lose you too." Her heart pounded. All her life, she'd wondered about the father she never knew. Now here he was, begging for a chance. But could she let him in? She stood frozen, her pulse thundering, her mom's secrecy, the sadness in her eyes. Whenever Emma asked about her dad, it all made sense now. Alexander Pierce, a billionaire who'd walked away from the woman he claimed to love, stood before her, wanting. What? Forgiveness? She swallowed hard. "You think you can just waltz into my life, and I'll forgive you?" His gaze didn't falter. "No, I don't expect that, but I have to try." Emma shook her head, the weight of it all crashing down. "Do you have any idea what we went through? How hard my mom worked to keep us going. She gave up everything. And you had it all." His jaw tightened. "I know, and I'll never make up for it." A bitter laugh escaped her. "So what's this? Guilt? Regret? You think money's gonna fix this?" His expression darkened, not with anger, but with something deeper. "This was never about money," Emma scoffed. "Easy for you to say when you're drowning in it." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I can't change the past, Emma, but I can give you the future you deserve." Her stomach twisted. "You think I need your help? I think you deserve the truth," he said softly. "Your mom protected you from me, and I get why, but she also kept you from knowing you were never unwanted, never forgotten. I loved her, Emma, and I would have loved you if I'd known." Her breath caught, her anger wavering, his voice raw, broken, chipped at her defenses. For the first time, she saw it, regret that never fades. She looked down at the photo in her hands, her mom's smile, Alexander's arm around her. A moment shattered long ago, tears burned her eyes. "She's gone. She'll never hear you say that." His voice cracked. "I know." Silence stretched, heavy and aching. Emma's breath shook. "I don't know if I can forgive you." He nodded, eyes glistening. "I don't expect you to, but I'll spend my life proving I'm not the man who left." She searched his face for lies, for selfishness, but found only a man who'd lost something irreplaceable. And, she realized, so had she. "I don't know where to start," she whispered. Alexander's lips pressed tight. Then he reached into his desk, pulling out a small velvet box. He set it before her. "What's this?" she asked, wary. "A gift," he said, voice hoarse. "From your mom. She left it with me years ago. Said to give it to you when the time was right." Her heart pounded. With trembling fingers, she opened the box. Inside, a delicate silver necklace gleamed, its pendant engraved with 3 words: "Forgive, love, begin." A sob caught in her throat. Alexander's voice broke. She believed in second chances. Emma clutched the necklace, her mom's words echoing in her soul. Could she believe in them, too? Maybe, just maybe.